Hi, this is Stephen Nell. I wish I could make time to speak with each author and editor that I've worked with all these years individually, but maybe doing this video is, I hope, the next best thing. Publishing books for busy nonprofit sector practitioners has been the honor of a lifetime. Not only have these books helped tens of thousands of practitioners and the organizations they serve, but I have come to know so many of my colleagues who have worked to create these wonderful books, and I've become friends with so many. Well, our books are showing their age, just like me. While every one of them contains timeless wisdom and advice of great value to practitioners, too many are falling out of step with the rapid pace of change in our sector. And as a publisher, I have a responsibility to the reading public, to our colleagues in the sector, to ensure that each of our titles is current and relevant. Well, the changes in our sector, which as you know have been driven by acute changes in federal funding and even more by the ascendancy of AI, have led me to the conclusion that to continue to make our titles available, I must either invest months and years of my time in working with dozens of authors and even more of the time of our editors. Because I have my own writing and, yes, composing projects, because I'm a composer too, I simply can't do that kind of investment at this stage. And the truth is, it has been years since I have given these titles my full attention, other than to carefully track sales, generate detailed royalty reports, and send checks. Instead, I've been focusing on my own creative projects that have great meaning to me at this stage in my life, and therefore the best thing to do and the responsible thing to do is to humbly step back entirely from publishing and return to the authors their publishing rights so they can do what they would like to with their books. So after considerable and careful attention, I have begun the process of stopping distribution of our books. Now, if you're an author, as of now, you automatically receive back your rights in your book because CharityChannel Press's right to publish a book is contingent upon our continuing to publish it. If we stop publishing a book, the rights under the publishing agreements revert back to the authors. It's automatic, and because it's automatic and it's already covered in a written agreement, there is really no need for me to have to devote the time to create so many documents returning rights when in fact they are already returned by operation of our contracts. But I'm happy to confirm that by email, and I can at least do that. So if you're an author and you would like to have me send you an email confirming that you now have your full publishing rights reverted to you, I'm happy to do that. Just send me an email and let me know, and I'll get that right back to you, okay? And also, even though I'm stopping the distribution of these titles, if there are remaining sales in the pipeline, and there will be, I will continue to track those until the trickle of titles royalties completely dries up. So as before, if you've made earnings, you'll get a royalty statement and a check. But just know that these are coming to an end. And also the same goes for you if you're an editor. Royalty payments are going to trickle to a halt as the last of the books in the distribution pipeline are sold by booksellers such as Amazon and Barnes & Noble and many, many more where the books have been made available. So if you're an author and receive this news, now you're probably wondering, what am I going to do with my book now that the rights have been returned to me? I know some authors will just want to republish the book as is and will ask me for the InDesign package. I already had an author do that. Others will want me to send the manuscript. And, as much as I like to do that, the truth is that I just don't have the time with so many to deal with to try to hunt all of that down. And in the case of the native InDesign files, I don't even have the software to reopen the packages, remove proprietary copyrighted material, and there are even fonts for which we receive licenses that prohibit me from transferring those to somebody else. And that's not true in all cases, but I would have to go and spend hours probably on each book just to pour through it and figure out what I have to remove and whether a font is licensed in such a way that I can release it to you or not. And honestly, I just do not have the time or energy or bandwidth to go through all that. But the good news is that you probably saved a copy of your manuscript, at least I hope so. But even if not, you have the book to fall back on. You can go, get a copy of the book in front of you, and there's your work, and it's available to you to use as the foundation to create a new book, maybe a new edition, maybe a completely new book using some of your material. That's entirely up to you, and I hope you will. These books are very valuable. I do think they deserve to be refreshed and put in the context of today's radically changing environment. And because I think they have so much important information that hasn't changed that it's worth the effort. And I want to encourage each one of you authors to do that. Now, how to get it published. The reality is there have never been good choices to find a traditional publisher if you want to put a book out for the nonprofit sector. I think CharityChannel Press was a good choice while we were actively publishing. At least I hope you all agree. I hope you agree. But the reason I founded the press was to provide our sector with a good publishing opportunity and give everybody my best efforts to put good books out there for the benefit of our sector and the public. But today I'd be hard pressed to make a recommendation to a traditional publisher because so few of them are familiar with our sector or willing to take a chance on a new writer, or even if they do tend to fall short in terms of what they do with authors. And I'll just leave it at that. I hope I'm wrong, but I have yet to get a whole lot of really praised reports from other traditional publishers, and I'm not happy about that. I wish it weren't so, but that's why I created the press to begin with, to try to solve that problem. So what would you do? I highly recommend you consider independently publishing your book. These days, you can put your own book out on any number of platforms. You do have to spend some time to become familiar with how they work and what you have to do to get everything accomplished. But that investment will more than pay off, because when your book is published, you will receive all the royalties without having to split them with anybody. And that can be really, really good for many of you whose books continue to sell well. Some of the platforms, the obvious one is Amazon KDP and Ingram Spark. Those are the two, by the way, that my press has been using for many years to achieve worldwide distribution of our books. But they are also geared toward self-publishers, and much more so now than when I got into publishing. So those are the two that most readily come to mind. But you could also check out Draft to Digital, especially for ebooks, but also more recently print books. Although if you use that platform, don't expect to get much in terms of royalties, because they take a higher percentage than I like to see. Still, it's something to look at. Lulu is a well-known print-on-demand platform. Check that out. Book Baby, and even Barnes & Noble Press, which I've never used, but I hear good things about. So those are just some of them. Do your own research. There's no reason why you can't publish your book on your own and, again, capture all the royalties if you want to. I think that's a really good opportunity there. At least it compensates you for the time it takes to figure out the self-publishing avenue. And once you know how to put your book out, once you've got your plan and you're working toward producing your book, you should also be thinking about how to promote it. And I rarely give recommendations, and I never give them unless it's to somebody I actually work with. And it's always because I genuinely would use them myself. In fact, I have used them. In this case, as you plan your next book, I recommend that you connect with Denise McMahon. She's a marketing strategist and a writer who works with nonfiction authors to find their voice, build their online presence, and find creative ways to turn their book content into influence and income. You can email her at denise@denisemcmahon.com. And as I said, I've personally worked with her on book projects, and not only is she highly skilled, but she knows our sector as well as anyone I've met. She's actually one of my big resources in publishing in our sector. And no, I don't receive any compensation for her for this recommendation. I just want to make sure I give it to you because it's one of the rare times when I feel comfortable doing that. Well, that's about it. Oh, well, maybe one more thing, if you'll indulge me, a little bit about me. I've been working hard on a fantasy novel series. I'm writing it with the idea of having my grandsons, when they're a few years older, read the first novel, but I'm going to publish it as well, or seek a traditional publisher, which is pretty funny. But anyway, in the fiction area, traditional publishing is alive and well. But so is self-publishing. But it's about an 11-year-old boy who wakes up in the belfry of the Big Ben Tower in London, and he has no memory of who he is or how he got there, and he doesn't know who his parents are and wonders why he's abandoned. And he finds himself in a musical, magical world where music is actually the thing that creates, that drives the magic system. And as a composer, I'm composing the music. So I'm having a lot of fun with it. I didn't realize how much work I was biting off. I'm now I think I'm going on my 4th year of working on this. Because I've been composing the music and writing the novel, and these things mesh together when there's a beautiful scene of two choirs having this incredible contest against each other. One is kind of evil, the other not. Well, I'm writing the choir music for that. And so this whole thing is living beautifully in my head, and the challenge for me is to compose it out and get it recorded and all that good stuff. Get it out there where people can listen to it. It'll help promote the book, but it's also part of the book. So I think I might be the first person doing something like this, because usually music that I'm composing would be considered a film score, not a novel score. So this is a novel score, and it's a novel in more ways than one, perhaps. So you can tell I'm really excited, and I'm working really hard on it. And so I'll be really honest. This is going to lift a big burden off of me that sometimes kind of saps at my creativity to no longer have to carry the responsibility of tracking sales and doing royalty reports and issuing checks and all that stuff. Is as important as it is, and I'm not complaining, but it has been a burden, and it feels like a weight is coming off my shoulders, which fuels me to want to keep working on my novel series. So I hope you'll wish me luck. And although I have shared this with a couple of people who are watching the video, maybe you haven't seen the sketch that I composed of the theme for my novel series. The first novel being called Oliver McGroarty and the Orb of Lumina. So here's the theme to that first novel.